Welcome to the re-recording of my live stream from a couple days ago about the Alchemy of Tarot, my new course that is starting on February 28th. So I did this as a live stream, I believe it was 2 days ago, and there were technical issues and I just needed to re-record it. So I'm actually doing it now on Tuesday, February 17th in the morning after the solar eclipse new moon. So maybe these new moon energies needed to be part of this, recording of this class. So in this class, it is a class. It's not just information about my tarot course, my 10-month tarot course. I'm going to be giving deep dive teachings about the tarot, about the Fool card, and it's an intro into what this 10-month journey is going to be about. And I will be posting this on my YouTube channel, on Substack. I'll send it out via my newsletter. I'll post it somehow on my website. And I will try to remember the questions people asked me in the original class. So, yes, this is take two. And let me share my screen. It's very windy outside. So we've had like wind pick up, insane wind, actually, that kind of messed with my sleep last night. And hopefully this will not, you know, interfere in the recording. All right. So the Alchemy of Tarot, Tarot as a tool for awakening. The 10-month course starts February 28th, 2026. So in about 11 days from when I'm recording right now. So this will be an intro to the course, but also an intro to me and how I read the tarot and how I connect to this very sacred oracle and kind of just give you a taste of what the journey will be about. So I'll talk about me if you're new to me, just so you can hear about me. If you're not new to me, you might know it all. But for those that are new, talk about me and my background. Then I'll do intro to the tarot. What is the tarot? And why is it important? Why is it a tool for awakening? I'll talk about my actual course, and then I'll give teachings on the Fool card. And then at the end, there was Q&A, but nobody's here for this live stream, so I'll see if I can remember what questions were asked live and maybe not. And if not, you can always email me through my contact form on my website, divineharmony.com. And there's a place where you can send me questions. You can also actually ask questions under where this video is located on YouTube. And then throughout this class, PowerPoint presentation, I'll be mentioning things, and the various links to these things will be below this video. So you can just scroll down and find it. And I'll remind you that as I mention the various links. So this is me. It's actually a photo shoot in the Piedra Blanca, the white stone mountains of the Sespe Wilderness that's in the eastern Topa Topas, just outside of Ojai, the Valley of the Moon that I used to live in. I love these sacred white stones, and it was a photo shoot for my website that was launching, new website in 2022. So I am a mother, a mystic, a mythologist, an astrologer, writer, and a teacher. I am an initiated high priestess. I have my master's degree in depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute, amazing school. I have been a student of astrology for 29 years, a full Saturn cycle, and a student of the tarot for 17 years, almost a lunar nodal return. And I've been writing and doing readings for 18 years. That is a lunar nodal return. And I've been teaching for 15 years, which is a half Saturn cycle. So, Divine Harmony is my business name. My real given birth name is Harmony. A lot of times people ask me, yep, as soon as I came out, my mom gave me that name. And I have been studying, the mystical arts for a very long time. I mean, even before 29 years, I got into spirituality and mysticism. But astrology came in 29 years ago. And I just love what I do. I am so incredibly grateful that my joy is my work. Very grateful. So this is the High Priestess card, and I just wanted to just share a little about my journey with the tarot. So my first real kind of deeper dive with the tarot, because I'd heard of it before, was in 2009. I had this very profound time in my life in 2009. A lot was going on there. It was the ending of a relationship that, at the time was the love of my life. And it was very difficult to end that relationship, but I had to. And then I went on walkabout. And so with me and three other close friends, we went to the Four Corners. We went to Sedona and Hopi Land and Shiprock, New Mexico. And we had all these powerful, profound things happen to us. And then I went to Mount Shasta that summer and did a series of light code activation workshops. Um, Three of them in a row in a matter of like, I think 2 months, which was really rare because, well, usually people would take a class and then take the next class the next year. And then, and I just took them all at once. And that summer, that spring and summer was really profound. And I died to an old self and rebirthed myself. And at the light code activation workshops, somebody had a tarot deck. I'd seen oracle cards before, but I think and I'd probably seen tarot before, but I hadn't really done anything with it. And so in those workshops, I was pulling cards and I kept pulling the death card. And I remember it freaked me out. And my friend who had brought the deck was telling me it's not literal. It's about transformation. And that summer was one of the biggest transformations of my life. And actually there are several I can pinpoint as being pivotal years of shift. But that was one of them. And that introed me into the tarot and how it could be so profound and insightful. Then in 2013, 4 years later, I actually began my official priestess training. And that's actually where I began working with the tarot every day. And it became a devotion. So 17 years since I first really connected with the tarot and started understanding, how powerful a tool it is. And then 13 years since my deep devotional study of it. So these are actually the majors. There's a major arcana and the minor arcana, and we'll be exploring very deeply what all this is in the course. But what is the tarot? So the tarot is a deck of cards, and it was first created, they say, in Italy in around the 15th century, and it was called tarocchi. And so I love etymology. One of the things I teach in many of my classes is the hidden meaning behind words. What was there before, what we're told today it means, but then when you look into the history of words, you actually find hidden meanings, which is fascinating. So I, of course, looked up tarot and I found tarocchi, the Italian word, is supposed to be connected to it. They say that it's a word of unknown origin. I don't know if you can hear that insane wind out there. But actually, you can find meanings. So it's supposed to connect to triumphi, which means triumph. And it's borrowed from Latin triumphus, Old Latin triumpus. It even has an Etruscan connection. The ancient Greek word thriambos is supposed to be connected to it, which literally means hymn to Dionysus or Bacchus. And it's supposed to represent victory or success, triumph, right? And that word became trump, not connected to the president, but connected to the tarot. The trumps are actually one of the names for the major arcana. So trump meant playing card of a suit ranking above others in a particular game. And it was an alteration or another variation on the word triumph. But trump is also from trumpet, right? The thing that you play, and it means the one who plays the trump and is a herald, one who summons or proclaims. And truly, the tarot is a herald for the journey of life. And it is a tool for awakening if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and you can see the hidden symbolism that's right there in plain sight. It's sometimes called the Game of Fools, which I believe was named as such to make it seem harmless, so that you didn't really look into it deeply. Oh, it's the Game of Fools. But it's actually the Book of Wisdom, if you know how to read it. There are 78 cards in the tarot deck. 21 are major arcana, and 56 are minor, and one is called the wild card or the fool card, which is sometimes added to the major arcana, and then there's 22 majors. Arcana comes from arcanum, which means mystery or secret. And then, of course, I looked into the etymology of that word. Arcane means hidden secret. Arcer means to close up, enclose, contain. Arca is chest, box, place for safekeeping. Arc is to hold, contain, guard. Arcos is to defend or defense. Arcane, another variation, is to ward off. And it's literally like a key to shut or lock. There are essentially, so it's like something that's being held closed up for safekeeping. It's, being guarded. It's a key to unlock the mysteries. There are four suits, the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles, representing the four hallows of the Grail. Also, the four treasures of the Tuatha De Danann. And we will explore these very deeply in the 10-month journey ahead. There's so much mystical symbolism hidden in the tarot deck. And these are the majors. So here we go. It's so much wind out there. I don't know if you guys are hearing it. Anyhow, the history of the tarot. So the first known deck that we still have a copy of, and it's not even the full deck, is the Visconti deck from the 15th century, the mid 1400s. And they say this was the first deck. I actually believe there were decks previous in the 1300s, and this is just the last surviving deck that we're aware of. The Visconti had art for the major arcana, and the minors just actually showed the variations of, there were like two cups or five cups or seven swords or nine coins, which is what the pentacles were back then. So they didn't have imagery on the minors. The king, queen, knight, and page, and there's different variations of that, and I'll speak to that in the course. They had, images of these individuals, the court cards as they're called today, but the ace through 10 was just like one, two, three, four of the various, swords, wands, cups, coins, whatever was being shown for the elements. So the tarot actually is a place for safekeeping of the teachings of the Grail and the teachings of the Cathars. And when the Cathars were being slaughtered in the 13th century, the Albigensian Crusade, some of them were able to run away to places, and one of those places was actually Italy, where this deck is from. It's really funny because as I was preparing this live stream and this course and this launch of this course, my friend Heather had a dream about her and I, and she reached out to me. I think it was like a month ago. Might have been well, no, I think it was, I don't know, actually. I forgot to check the date. Anyhow, she's like, Harmony, I had a dream of you. And she said, you and I were going to Italy to look for the Cathars. And I was like, Italy? Like, I've studied the Cathars for a long time, and my trip last summer and into the fall was all through Cathar lands. Like, I've been very tuned into Cathars for a while, and I was not aware that there was like an Italian faction of Cathars. And I'm actually part Italian, which has opened up a whole world for me to explore genealogy. But anyhow, I was just like, what? Italy? And I knew the tarot showed their teachings, especially the Rider-Waite, which is the deck I'll be teaching in this course. And so then I started looking into Italy and the Cathars there, and all these things started to fall into place. And I was just like, whoa, I'm clearly being guided. All right. So the Cathars that went to Italy influenced these cards. And I believe the man who commissioned them, the Visconti deck, was either married to a daughter of the Cathar line or came from the Cathar line himself. His name was Filippo Maria Visconti. And they say that he commissioned the deck, and then his son-in-law, who married his daughter, carried it on because it didn't get completed in his life. And I believe it was the men who took the action to get these cards made, but it was the women, his wife, his daughter, their mother line, who inspired the deck, as the entire deck of the tarot is a book of wisdom about the divine feminine. I actually studied Filippo's family lines in genealogy. I'm very into genealogy. And his great grandmother is French, and her lines go back to all the Grail lines, the Dukes of Aquitaine, Luxembourg, the connection to Melusine, which I'll talk about in my course, the Hainautes, the Folks d'Anjou, Alfonso the Tenth, the Wise, going to the Aragon lines. These are all the Grail lines, and his grandmother goes to all these lines. Then I followed his father lines, and they go to Alfonso the Tenth, the Wise of Castile, and then Fernando the Saint, and Alfonso the Eighth, the Noble, who married Eleanor of England, the daughter of Eleanor of Aquitaine. And so if you didn't see my blog on Substack, I actually did this whole writing, and I think I recorded myself teaching it, or reading it rather, that of the Grail line of the presidents of the United States of America, they all go back to Eleanor of Aquitaine. There's this video that's going around about how they're all related to John Lackland, who was like this kind of jerk of a king, and but actually he doesn't matter to me personally. No offense, John, but his mother is Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she helped spread the courts of love and the Catholic teachings in her royal courts. She supported the troubadours, so did her daughter Marie de Champagne, who brought Cretin de Troyes to her court, which planted the seeds of his later creation of the Grail myth. So there's all these Grail lines, and it connects to the Cathars in his lineages. So it's possible there were versions of the tarot before this deck. I believe there was. I think the original ones probably started right around the time, well, I don't know. I was going to say right around the time of when the Cathars were getting slaughtered so they could preserve it in something. But it may have even been there before when they were not being slaughtered and they created this to preserve their teachings. And unfortunately, we're not aware of it because no surviving decks have been found. Maybe there are some out there and they're being guarded. Wouldn't be surprised. Anyhow, so this remaining one comes from Italy, and this is actually where Cathars went to hide from being slaughtered. And then they put their teachings into it, and then they called it a fool's game so no one would suspect it. Lawrence Gardner said that the Trumps were deemed blasphemous by the Church of Rome, but it's not because they were anti-Christian, it was because they were anti-establishment. So you have to understand, and we'll study this deeply in my course about the Cathars and their spiritual understanding. But they believed, first of all, in a divine feminine, so not just a monotheistic male god. There was a feminine that was divine, a mother goddess. And the patriarchal churches had all removed her and made it into the one God that was male. But the Cathars also believed that there were two gods. There was a God in heaven who was the God of love and benevolent, and then there was a God on earth who made the material world who was evil. And they believe that the Old Testament God in the Bible is the evil one, and the New Testament was the good one. And the Cathars essentially accused the Catholic Church of worshiping the evil one. So this is part of why the Catholic Church was slaughtering them. They also, and this is very important, believed in a direct line connection to the divine, not external authority, where a pope or a priest, has authority over you and your, salvation. In addition, they accused Catholic clergy of moral corruption and hypocrisy, claiming that the church had strayed from the true Christian values, which is very interesting in light of, where we're at today and all the things that have come out about what priests have done to children and boys and various different things. Anyhow, so you have to understand the history here. These cards are tied to the Cathars, people who were slaughtered by the Catholic Church. Some say 1 million of them killed. And then it's usually the Catholic Church, but other variations of churches, Christian and such, that say these tarot are of the devil. They're evil. It's not. As Lawrence Gardner said, it's not anti-Christian. It's anti-establishment. So the tarot are their teachings preserved in a card game. They're not evil. They're not of the devil. They are the book of wisdom. And you can learn to read it. And more importantly, you can learn to apply the teachings and integrate them into your own life, into your own journey of awakening. And you can literally use the tarot as a tool for awakening. So, in this course, we'll be working with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I personally like the one with the muted tones, and when you sign up for the course, I send you a link to the deck I recommend. You don't need to use it. You can use, if you have another variation of Rider-Waite, it's fine. The original way Pamela Coleman Smith painted the deck was in muted tones. Later on, they created these decks with like neon colors and very bright and kind of brash. I prefer this variation. Um, the deck was published in 1909. Woo! That's the wind. Can you hear it? Oh my God. Wow. I think you can probably hear that, right? I don't know. Anyhow, I guess we'll find out when I re-listen to this later to check. So the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I add Smith because Pamela Coleman Smith is the woman who actually painted the deck. um, she's often left out. Anyhow, we'll talk about her in the course. This deck was published in 1909 by people associated with the mystery school, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And they based the majors on the Visconti versions, because remember, I said Visconti actually had the imagery for the majors. It was the minors that just showed 2, 3, 7, 8, swords, cups, whatever. Didn't have pictures, stories. They made changes, though, to some of the majors, some of which I don't agree with. And I will teach you that in this course. I'll teach you what everybody says, and then I'll teach you what I think was changed that shouldn't have been changed. Anyhow, so the true gift of the tarot that Pamela Coleman Smith gifted is she created images for all the minors as well. So the minors didn't have painted images, so she channeled and created them. And then the entire deck became full of symbolism and archetype that can be read like a story. So the entire journey through the deck is one of a sacred pilgrimage, a journey from small self to higher self, from profane to sacred, from human to divine. So I will show and teach the Visconti when I teach the majors, and I may bring some of the minor cards in or the court cards, I don't know yet, but we will focus on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and that's the imagery I'll be teaching from. So if you have another deck that you've already worked with, you're welcome to bring it along, but you have to have a copy of the Rider-Waite because it's what I'm teaching. And when you do practices and you're learning to read the cards, and then when you have questions, it all has to be based on this deck because it's what I'm teaching. The tarot meanings are universal, so you can apply what you learn to other tarot decks. Also, as a side note, and I think I even shared this on the landing page for the course, but I was telling my friend and star brother, Randy Keller, who he was a guest teacher on my 2025 yearly forecast. And then in my 2026 Sirius Portal series, I had him guest in my last class of the series on the Transpersonal Grand Sextile, which is actually that video is available on my YouTube channel, and I'll make sure it's included in the links below. But anyhow, I was just talking to him about my tarot course, and he's like, "You're really connected to this deck." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Like, I feel like it like speaks to me, like I just feel like I have a really deep relationship with it." And then I'm really into genealogy, and I got him really into genealogy. And then we found out we're like related, many cousins back. I can't remember if it's like 8 or 9 or 10 or something. But anyhow, I just thought to myself, oh, I should look them up. So I looked up both Arthur Edward Waite, which is why it's called Rider Waite, Waite, the guy who commissioned it all. And then I looked up Pamela Coleman Smith, and they are both my seventh cousins through different uplines. So I'm actually related to them, not direct line, but and I just was like, huh, maybe that's why it speaks to me so much. I mean, it's also probably just my connection to the Cathars because it was well before 1909 that these images and this storyline was around. So I'm very excited to teach this course. So the Divine Feminine, Tarot from a Feminine Perspective. So this 10-month journey is going to be a transformative experience, activating or deepening, depending on where you're at in your journey, your connection to your inner oracle. So I'll be teaching tarot from a feminine, intuitive, embodied perspective. Earth and water are the two feminine elements, body and heart and emotions and intuition. We will not be studying the tarot leading with the mind, air, or the will and ego, fire. The mind wants to understand everything, the will and ego wants to do something with it, right? And how we will be coming at this journey is not like, what am I doing with it? Am I going to become a professional tarot reader after this course? Or what are these meanings? I need to memorize them. We are coming at it with the body and emotions, somatically and intuitively, because I want to teach you to feel the cards from within, like so that you don't have to memorize meanings. You can read it, you can sense it somatically, intuitively, emotionally, connect to the imagery. So air, mind, and fire, will, and ego will come online after, but the feminine will be leading in this course. So I'm very excited to be teaching it from this perspective. And yeah, it's my journey with this deck has been really profound for my path. And I just want to share that with you. So now just some information. The Alchemy of Tarot is a 10-month course. There's one class a month on Saturdays, and I'm saying 2 to 2.5 hours. The first class, I'm telling everybody give it 3 hours, just because I have to set up some basic, I got to talk about the four elements and the tools, and I have to talk about the majors versus the minors and give some background and the history and talk about Pamela Coleman Smith. So there's like some intro material, and then we dive into the start of the journey. So one class a month on Saturdays. It's typically the last Saturday of the month, but there's a few times due to holidays that have changed it. Like I don't have it the last Saturday of November because that's Thanksgiving weekend. I don't have it the last Saturday of October because it's Halloween. Um, but it's generally, the towards the end of the month. That'll be the live class. Then there'll be one video or audio teaching a week to deepen into whatever we're working with that week. So one live class and then one audio or video to listen to each week. The live class obviously is longer. The audio videos will be more digestible, like 20 minutes or something, give or take. And then one of the things I'm really excited about with this course is I've only ever taught a course that's really long one other time. So that was Stargate Mystery School, because like astrology in your shadow is 6 weeks, and embodied astrology, I think, was 6 weeks. And um, the Holy Grail, becoming the vessel, I believe, was 2 months long. And so there's, a month to 2 months has been mostly how my classes are, one class a week. But Stargate was a year and a day, and it was one class a month. And then this community space where I would post things and give, little reminders of what to work with each day. And it just created this like field of energy that we all were participating in, where the teachings could just drop in even deeper because we had more time to digest, integrate, work with the energies. It wasn't like people feeling like they're falling behind because they missed a class, because there's only one live class a month. So it's not going to be hard for you to stay caught up. And there's only one thing each week, and you can either If it's going to be video, there'll be some audio version of it so you can also listen while you're driving. And then the community space was really profound. The sharing of dreams, of experiences, of meditations, of the various practices we'll be doing was really profound. And we actually created this group field. There were times we'd even have like group dreaming, and it wasn't on purpose. I would tell everybody, bring something into your dream space. But we would all, not all of us, but some of us would be having like the same dreams or the same symbolism coming through the dream space. And it just created this collective field that was really amazing, like really profound. So on the landing page, I actually have all the exact dates. And please note the United States has daylight savings March 8th, and in the UK, it doesn't happen until March 29th. So the March class is going to be an hour different. But if you sign up for the course, when you register for Zoom, it will discern what time zone you're in and it'll tell you all the correct times. But just so you know, the time is 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So I'm in Mountain now. I used to be, oh my God, that's the wind. I used to be Pacific, then I was Eastern, now I'm Mountain. So sorry if you're getting confused where I'm located. But that is 10 a.m. Pacific. That is 2 p.m. Eastern. That is 6 p.m., I believe, 6 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. Paris. You're going to just have to adjust if you're in another time zone accordingly. The length of the class is 10 months. So the first class is February 28th. The last class is November 21st. The community page opens a week before our first class. So it opens February 21st. And then we'll close December 19th. And the full dates you can find on the landing page. Well, actually, I'll say them now. So February 28th, March 28th, April 25th, May 30th, June 27th, July 25th, August 29th, September 26th, October 24th, not the last Saturday because it's Halloween, so I did it a week before, and November 21st, not the last Saturday of the month because of Thanksgiving. And then that's the last class, and then we still have community page open for another month because we'll have practices and sharing and, integration. So in terms of time, it's the one live class. Ideally, if you can attend live, that's wonderful because there's just this energy created in the live space. But if you can't, it'll be posted, usually within an hour, but sometimes it can take 24 hours depending on Zoom and if they're having any delays. So you watch that class and then you tune into the weekly post and then you just come into the community page whenever you have time and feel to. So you can engage with the work as much or as little as you want. I do recommend more on the more end because that's when the transformation will happen. But it doesn't have to become like, homework. Oh my God, I got to do this to stay caught up. It's really about if you take one practice and do that deeply each month, you will have a profound experience. If you do all the practices but do them lightly, you won't have as profound of an experience as the person who went deep. So it's about the depth of energy and intention and embodiment, I guess, is what's coming in that you bring to it that's actually going to inform your journey. So, let's see. How long will class be available? It's indefinite. So as long as I have Kajabi, it'll be there, If I ever have to leave Kajabi, if I go somewhere else, you'll be given a link to where the new place of hosting for the classes. If I ever am just not going to do that anymore, you'll be given permission to download the videos and keep them. So the community page, though, comes down. So after December 19th, that's gone. The class itself stays up and will be made available on demand in the future. I don't know when. Yeah, I don't know when, but the benefit of doing this now is the group space is my presence, answering questions, reading what you share and reflecting, being on this journey together. and particularly actually the astrology, which is a future slide. I'll talk about it, but there's like very profound astrology this year. And it's weird because this class, so I've been weaving tarot teachings into my classes for years. I just bring them in and show, different things. And at a certain point, I think it might have been around Stargate Mystery School, I started getting students emailing me going, "When are you going to teach a tarot class?" And it never occurred to me to teach a tarot class. Like I'm an astrologer and that's what I do professionally. I don't do tarot readings. But I've been studying the tarot deeply for 13 years devotionally and 17 since my first real deep dive with it that summer. And I probably have gotten like 2 dozen emails in the last few years of students going, "Are you going to teach tarot? Are you going to teach tarot?" And then at some point, I was just like, "Okay, I think this is the universe going, Harmony, you need to do this." And so now is the time. I was actually going to do it last year. And then I ended up having to go on hiatus. And if you are a student or a client or have been a member, you know about that. I went on a 5 month hiatus and unplugged from everyone and everything and took all my memberships down and was not on social media and went on a very deep inner and outer journey. And so anyhow, it's happening this year and it's divine timing. So the teachings will include, of course, the tarot, and I will help teach you to tune into the symbolism and the meaning and not just the surface meanings that the various tarot books will tell you it means. I'm going to be weaving in the Cathar teachings, the teachings of the divine feminine, the teachings of the Holy Grail, because that is what the tarot hides. Or, as the etymology of the words that I went into in the beginning says, is keeping enclosed, is keeping under lock and key, right? And I want to teach you to embody the information, not just memorize these meanings. I also want to teach you to cultivate and trust a deep relationship with your intuition and your inner voice. So we'll be working with the cards. And then there's astrology that's part of tarot. I mean, they actually go hand in hand. So the majors all represent planets or signs, and then the minors represent planets in signs. So Venus in Pisces or Mars in Virgo or whatever. And so I'm going to teach these astrology correlations, and then I'm going to teach you how to overlay it with your birth chart and add tarot as a layer of interpretation with your natal chart. And you don't need to know astrology or tarot actually to take this course because it will be um, geared to meeting all levels, which generally most of my courses come from that perspective. They're all deep journeys that meet you where you're at and help to take you deeper. If you're brand new to both, you will get a deep exploration and introduction. If you've been studying either of them for a long time, this will take you deeper. And that's how I gear all my classes. Um, so I will also teach about birth cards, year cards, different ways to work with the individual cards. And then also at the last class, we'll have some tarot spreads that I will get into. The first 9 classes are getting deeply intimate with the cards and their meaning and their symbolism and what's hidden in them and their archetype and the astrology, etc. Also, there's going to be alchemy because we'll be working with the elements, which is what the 4 tools, the wands, swords, cups, pentacles represent. And numerology, all of the cards have numbers, so we'll be getting into that. Archetype and symbolism, I mentioned, deepen your intuition. There'll be dream work, guided meditations, journaling prompts, somatic practices, teachings on the Grail, as I mentioned, Cathar's teachings, the divine feminine. Um, it will be a deep journey. So, if you were in Stargate Mystery School, you know what this kind of journey will be like. um, because it'll be similar. It's just we're working with the tarot. So this is the Seven of Cups. It's actually one of my favorite cards. You look at it and you're like, what cup are you going to choose? Down on the bottom, you see the castle, the jewels, the wreath of victory, the dragon of power, and above on the upper left, you'll see a head that's supposed to be love, the beloved. And on the right, you see a serpent, but in the middle is the radiant veiled woman, Sophia. The top row is the spiritual, the bottom row is the material. But it's funny because even the serpent, which is supposed to be the serpent of wisdom, it looks like it's the highest, right? It looks like if you see here, it's higher, and then the beloved is the next level, and then below is the radiant woman in the veil with the aura around her. And so it implies that wisdom and the beloved, right, are number one and number two. But actually, she is positioned lower, but she is the highest. And that's why in Thunder Perfect Mind, she states, I'm the one below, and they come up to me. Hidden in plain sight. Most interpretations of this card focus on the negative, so they call this card a card of dreams and fantasy and vision, but it's not real. But the deeper teaching of this card is about choices. Are we choosing lower or higher? And the card after this is the Eight of Cups, and you see this person walking out underneath a lunar eclipse, um, or a solar eclipse, and then you see them going off into the mountains alone for an inner journey. So you make a choice about what you're going to elevate, what you're going to exalt, what's going to be the thing you go after. What will we choose? That's what this card is about. So this will be a mystery school like Stargate Mystery, but with tarot as the focus. Will there be recommended reading? I'm not really sure yet. I mean, the class itself is going to be full of teachings. If I ever reference things I've learned from people, I give references. One of my favorite books is actually The 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. I will give texts to dive deeper, like as recommendations, but there's not going to be required reading because I'm going to be teaching you what you need to know. And then everything else is going to be practices, journaling, meditations, dream work, etc. And will there be Q&A? So in the community space, people will share their meditations, their experiences, their dreams. They can ask questions in the community space. There won't be like a Q&A the way I normally do in astrology classes where there's a live class where I show charts because that's not going to be really what we do. At the very end, in the last class, once you've learned all the cards and you can overlay things in your chart, you can ask things like that in the community space. So it's all going to be in the community space. And I will be answering questions there. The Q&A will not be in the live class because in the live class, I'll be teaching the new content. So all of those questions and things, exchanges will be in community. And for anybody who's been in a class of mine, I'm very involved in the community space. So it's me answering your questions. It's me reading and commenting. I don't just like what you say and move on. Like I actually take it in and digest it and give reflection. And it's one of my favorite parts of teaching, actually, is all of this interaction and just hearing how the work is moving through your being. Like it's very exciting for me to see other people like have these things happen. It's so funny. In a lot of my classes, I work with dreams. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people go, I never dream or I never remember my dreams. And then I took this class with you. And all of a sudden I have all these dreams. And it's just like we create these spaces where we're inviting the unconscious and the higher self and our guides to connect with us. And let me tell you, when we create that space, it comes in, they come in. And even if you're not used to it, it happens just simply by signing up for the course and saying, yes, I want to go on this journey. It's amazing what rises to meet you. Ooh, I have full body chills. Ah, all right. This is the world card. It says El Mundo because I couldn't find a really clear depiction of the world card when I was Googling. I probably just need to take my own pictures, but This is the completion fruition card, the image of the world. So at the end of our journey together, if you engage the work, you will know the tarot deeply. You will have deepened your connection to your intuition. You will have an insightful inner journey, and you will have made friends and community, perhaps for life. One question that nobody asked me, but I put in here to just make sure I answer, will you be a tarot reader after this course? So this course, remember I said it's being taught from the feminine perspective, earth and water, embodiment and intuition and feeling and emotion. So I've never come at actually any of my learning from air or fire, from memorizing things and doing stuff with it. I've always come to everything I've studied from this place of, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. I'm doing it for myself and my inner work and my inner journey and my healing. And then they've become things, like obviously astrology did. But I was studying astrology for at least 12 years. I'm trying to remember, when did I? 97. And then I didn't really start writing until actually, it might have been 96, until 2007 or 8. So it was like 11 or 12 years I was studying the tarot before I ever started writing a blog. At that point, I hadn't even done readings yet. I didn't have my first reading until 2008, and I was forced to do it. No, not forced. I was at a dinner party and I'd been studying it for so long, and my friends were telling this person, Harmony's an astrologer. And this woman was a well-known person in Hollywood, and they said to me, I'll pay you for a reading. And I'd never been paid for readings yet. And I was just like, like I didn't want to do it. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's connect later. She's like, no, I'll pay you now. How much is it? And I was like, oh my God. So she paid me on the spot, which like locked me in. And it was almost like the universe knew that was the only way to get me to do it, because I was just like, I only do this for fun. I only do this for free. I remember friends even saying to me, are you going to become a professional astrologer? And I would literally say, no, I never will. I was like, I only do this because I love it. But because of that attitude, I had a very devotional energy around my studies. Nothing was driving me to study because I needed to make money with it or I needed to do something with it, practical. It was always because of the love of wisdom. Sophia, love, wisdom. And so that is the goal of this course, is to lead you on a journey to get you deeply intimate with the cards. Now, if you're brand new to tarot, at the end of 10 months, I would not say you're ready to be a tarot reader. You need to journey with the tarot for many years. You need to get into a deep one-to-one relationship with the cards. And yes, 10 months is beautiful. It's much better than a 6-week class. But you still need to have a deep journey with the cards before you're going to be ready to read for other people. Now, if you've already been journeying with the tarot for a long time, yeah, this course could definitely take you to the place of I'm ready now to read. If you already read, and I've already had several people sign up who are tarot readers, this will just take it all deeper. So that is the goal. The goal is the inner journey. Where that leads you depends on where you're at to begin with when you arrive on this journey. So hopefully that answers the question. All of my classes, come from this place, except for like foundations. I teach the basics of astrology, and then intermediate series is like literally like detailed teaching transits, progressions, dispositors, returns. Like it's all technical kind of teaching. Whereas every other class, from astrology in your shadow to embodied astrology to Stargate Mystery School to the alchemy of the asteroid goddesses to the Holy Grail becoming the vessel, calling in the light, all of these classes are meant to meet you where you're at and take you further. So they're not you got to do this first and then that first. It's just like show up for the journey, and wherever you're at, you're gonna go somewhere. And this class is similar. So you don't need any background in astrology or tarot to take this course. And if you do, there's still going to be a lot of value and deep teachings. So this is the moon card. So my ideal student is someone who maybe is familiar with the tarot, maybe isn't, doesn't matter. It's really my ideal student is someone who wants to do an inner journey and will show up for the work, will engage and share, will also know when to pause and integrate. Be like, oh, I've got a lot now. I need to bring it in and embody it, which is why I'm going to give you all the practices. And the finger pointing at the moon, right? The moon is the goal, the divine feminine. I will point the way. I'll give the tools and the teachings and the practices that can guide, but the journey is your own. And if you engage it, it can and will be a profound journey. So the astrology during our journey together, the first Aquarius eclipse on the North Node is this morning as I'm re-recording this. And it's the first of the Aquarius Leo eclipses, and it's heralding a huge shift. Um, Especially because space.com has an article out. They're calling it the golden age of solar eclipses. The next 2 years, all the solar eclipses are either ring of fire, where you see the ring, or they are total, which is very rare. And it's happening with this Aquarius Leo shift, which, by the way, Aquarius and Leo is really important in Egyptian mystery schools. It's important on the ceiling of Dendera. Like it's like a big deal, and I'll have a lot more to say on that in the next 2 years to come. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction is on the 20th, initiating a new Saturn-Neptune cycle. Saturn is all about mastery, discipline, study, commitment. Neptune is spirituality, mysticism, dreams, and archetype. And it's in Aries, so this is an action-oriented, like take action, set new things into motion. It's also at the Aries point, which is like the beginning of the tropical zodiac, so it's a massive rebirth. My friend Randy did all the calculations, and we haven't had a Saturn Neptune conjunction at the Aries point in over 6,000 years. And the software doesn't go back before that. So maybe it was 7,000 years ago, but we don't know. Jupiter stations direct conjunct Sirius March 10th. Sorry, that's supposed to say 10th. I saw that typo when I taught this live and I forgot to fix it. But anyhow, Jupiter was conjunct Sirius last summer. It's part of why I went on pilgrimage. I have a video on it. It's called Jupiter in Cancer conjunct Sirius. It's included below. This is being energized as Jupiter stations, because he stations within, I think it's like a half a degree. He stations at 1505, and Sirius is currently at 1426. So sorry, it's 39 minutes, 1426. Am I doing that math right? 34, 39 minutes. Yeah, I did the math right. And so Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, is conjunct Sirius, the spiritual son of our sun. I have a whole masterclass on Sirius if you're interested in that. I'll try and remember to post it, but if not, just go to my website. It's under classes. So this is like profound, like opening. And this is in our first, it's March 10th, not 20th. So it'll be after our first class, but we'll be in that field as we start this course. Also this year, all three Mercury retrogrades are in water. Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and water signs are amazing for spiritual, mystical, intuitive, occult studies. And we have this profound transpersonal grand sextile in July, and I have a whole video on it. Link below. It's arguably the biggest astrology of the decade, the century, maybe even the millennia. I mean, I haven't actually looked at all of major astrology for the millennia. Maybe I should. But it's up there. So now I want to give you teachings on the Fool card, so you can just sort of get a sense of how I will be coming at the tarot. So here we have the Fool, and you can see it's the zero, right? Zero card. It's a 0 point card. So the Fool is said to be a card. Some people call it a major, some people call it the wild card, that can go anywhere in the whole deck because he's a reset point. a new beginning, but also an ending that leads to the new beginning. So just like the Aries point, where we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in a couple days, as I'm recording this, it's 3 days from today. That's both the start and end of a previous cycle. So can be the Fool energy. It's a reset. It's a new beginning, but it's predicated on an ending. The Fool in astrology is Uranus. So Uranus is the planet in astrology that's the hardest to predict. He's called the planet of unpredictability. So the Fool has this unpredictable energy. And Uranus, the planet, comes in to shake us up, to wake us up, to break us down so we can break through. And, Uranian energy can be like, amazing. It's like, all of a sudden your mind's blown open and you see things you could never see before and you understand things you could never understand before. But it can also be destabilizing. It can feel like the rug's pulled out from underneath you. In the Grail myth, the pure fool is the one who could heal the Fisher King by asking certain questions. And so, a question, when we ask a question, it implies not only do we not know the answer, but we're open to hearing things. We're open-minded, right? We won't ask a question if we think we already know the answer. So Uranus is the higher mind. It's the higher octave of the mind. The lower mind is Mercury. And it's where we are, ideally, the higher mind is receptive. It comes in and it helps us become receptive to hearing, seeing, learning new things, even if those new things shock our socks off, make us question our previous belief systems or understanding. And this is particularly important when we talk about politics, spirituality, science, and the intellect, because these are things that often will anchor into, oh, this is what I believe, and then we'll rigidly go, nothing else that comes in is going to challenge this belief. And that's when Uranus has to come along and kind of make us fall off a cliff so that we're willing to see new things. So the Fool and his pure energy is open, and you can see this openness here, right? He's like, here I am, ready to go. And he looks like he's about to walk off a cliff. Um, Sorry, I have this image twice and I just went by it. So here he is in yellow and orange, right? He's got a black tunic, but there's these beautiful yellow and orange, eight-spoked, like flower-looking things. He also actually has one pomegranate here, and this is almost the beginnings of another pomegranate, which actually evokes the Empress because her whole dress is full of pomegranates. It's a divine feminine symbol. So the yellow and the orange, these are the colors of the solar plexus, third chakra, and the sacral, second. And then he has a red feather at his crown, and that's the root chakra color, the root down at the bottom of the perineum. And interestingly, that feather you see again on the sun card on the child. So the feather on the fool's head is the feather on the child in the sun. Anyhow, we'll talk about that in the course. So these three lower chakras are the chakras of being human. They are the chakras of coming into form, being in this reality. So being in the world is what these lower chakras are about. And yet there's so much white in this card. White is the color of spirit. So the sleeves underneath his outfit, the tunic is white. There's a white sun, the only sun in the deck, in the majors, and in the deck, that's white. He has a white flower in his left hand, the hand of the feminine. He has a white dog at his feet, and these mountains are white tipped, which we also see two other times in the majors. So the white is the energy of spirit. And the white on his back behind him and to his left, because if you pretend you're him, the sun is behind him and to his left. The flower is in his left hand. The dog is to his left. So behind and to the left in the body is the feminine. In front and to the right is the masculine. So he is being guided by the feminine behind him, right? And white is spirit and purity. And all of these are in an alignment, if you notice. We've got the sun above his crown. We have the flower at his heart level. We have the dog down by his feet. This evokes the three grails in the body. We literally have three grails, and I teach this in embodied astrology. I teach this in, I believe, Stargate Mystery School. And I may have even brought it into other places. Actually, I think I teach it in the Alchemy of the Asteroid Goddesses. But anyhow, the three grails, there's the grail of wisdom in the head, and the white sun is connected to this in this card. There's the grail of love in the heart, with the white flower at his heart level in his left hand, the feminine. And then there's the grail of power in the womb or hara in the bottom of the body, which the dog down at the bottom of his feet represent. The dog is also animal instincts, the primal, um, animal drive that we have as humans, right? We're both human and divine. So he's being guided by the spirit feminine. And he comes in with this purity in his three grails in his body. They're pure, they're white, they're unsullied. And literally, this card speaks to that moment of incarnation. This is us in spirit, ready to start our human journey. Oh, it's so exciting. We're going to be human. We're going to leap off the cliff and fall into incarnation. And we come in with this purity of spirit. But then along the journey, things happen, right? Things that I think spirit didn't really fully understand. I was actually having this conversation last night with Randy. So essentially, a lot of times people think it's just the human that doesn't understand the spirit's perspective. Like we're in our life and these things happen to us. And it's like, why did I choose this? And it's like, oh, but the spirit chose it. The spirit understood. But actually, it goes both ways. The spirit is almost like viewing things like playing a video game. That was actually the example I used last night when we were talking. I was like, I used to be obsessed with Mario Brothers when I was a kid, and you would do these things and you would die, or you'd like something would happen to you, and it was like, oh, it sucked, but it wasn't really you, it was your player in the game. And so spirit kind of looks down as though this is all this game. And oh, and yeah, I'm going to incarnate and it's going to be fun. And sure, I'll take, you know, difficult childhood, traumatic relationships, whatever, because it's all going to help me grow. And spirit's like, yeah. But the human self is like, what the hell? Why did I sign up for this? Why is this so difficult? Well, the spirit self needs to learn to be human and what that actually means, the pain, the suffering, the love, the loss, all of it, this human experience. And the human needs to learn what it means to be divine. They both need to learn from each other, and then they come into union, and that's the hieroskamos. So the Fool card is that moment of spirit coming down and going, yes, let's incarnate. And it's excited about it because it doesn't really know what's coming. It knows on an intellectual level, on a spirit level, but it doesn't know in a human embodied level. That's the journey of being human. That is the incarnation. So, we've got so many other symbols in here, and I'll go into it all in class. Um, but one thing I do want to say is the white dog and the white sun are Sirius, and Sirius, the spiritual son of our sun. It's why it's showing as white as opposed to the yellow sun. This is Sirius. It is the spiritual son of our sun, the dog star. And if you actually know your constellations, you know that Sirius, the dog star, is usually right around the throat of the dog, and it's in this alignment with the belt stars of Orion. He's actually Orion. And you can see an overlay of constellations in the tarot cards. So this is Orion and Sirius, the Fool card. And there's so much more actually that I can say about this card, but we'll wait for class. So back to the whole deck, Fool is 0, but is also sometimes called 22. It's the only 0 card. Everything else has a number and boils down to a number 1 through 9. So like 12, for example, the Hanged Man, 1 plus 2 is 3. So the Hanged Man, a deeper energy underneath it is Empress. Or Judgment is 20, 2 tens, which you could see as 2 Wheel of Fortunes, but you can also add 2 plus 0 and you get 2. And so hidden, oops, behind the 20 is the 2, the High Priestess. Fool is the only one that it is a 0. It's a 0 card, unless you're calling it 22 and it doesn't boil down to anything. And we'll be looking at this numerology throughout the class. So here's the Visconti version. So remember, I said I'll use Visconti to compare and show you the changes that were made and the things that I think maybe shouldn't have happened. But anyhow, I'll teach the regular system so you know it, and then I'll also teach some other things. So the Fool here and the Visconti on the right, he's obviously different looking. He's definitely in tattered clothes. His pants are missing. Doesn't even look like he has shoes on. It looks like his pants are down to his knees because you can see his toes, right? So that's actually, it evokes like, oh, they look like maybe there's some kind of boot, but wait a second, there's no bottom to the boot. So he kind of looks like homeless. He has a bat in his right hand. He has all these feathers in his head, which is very shamanic. He looks like a shaman. And he's not walking off a cliff, but the ground beneath him is breaking up. And then there's blue hills behind as well as green. He looks more mad in this card, like a wild man, like John the Baptist in the Bible. And you can actually see certain biblical characters in the tarot. Rachel Pollack, from her book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, says the Fool is true innocence, total freedom, our true immortal self. And so, again, our true spirit self. And there's various fool animals, that we hear about. They're tricksters. They bring a reversal energy like Uranus, right? You never know what you're going to get with Uranus. He's the planet of unpredictability, and trickster archetypes are unpredictable. So the coyote, the fox, the raven. The thing with the trickster we have to understand is he, she, they can only trick us if we're not being discerning. Otherwise, the trickster tests us to see how wise and aware we really are. So the trickster Uranian Fool energy comes in to insert chaos, to create change. When things have gotten too stuck, too stagnant, along comes the upheaval because we weren't paying attention and we need a reversal. The Fool card actually is very similar to Eris energy. Eris doesn't have a card in the deck because she was just discovered in 2005, but her energy is that. It's this upheaval, this chaos that comes not because she's malevolent and just likes to cause chaos, because things have gone on too long in an energy that's gotten stagnant and stuck. And stasis in science is a precursor to death. Everything is constantly evolving, dying and being reborn. And the moment you stop that process and you try and keep something stuck in a system that's unchanging, you are now in a stasis energy, which is a precursor to death. So the chaos comes in when we've done that for so long that we are precariously hanging on to the thread of death, like full death, not like the metaphorical death and rebirth and transformation, the movement, the organic energy. And so this energy will come in when we need that, when we need a reset, a restart. Reversed, this card is supposed to show us resisting change, resisting new beginnings, thinking we know it all. And we refuse to come back to beginner's mind and openness, that place of being the fool, right? The universe will then need to shock us more to get us to wake up when it's a reversal. So the Fool is the pilgrim, and the rest of the majors is the pilgrimage, his spiritual pilgrimage journey. The majors show this larger cycle of human to divine, and then the minors show the daily life imagery. And this is a card of ether. I've actually read in some books where they say it's air or it's earth. It's not, it's ether, the fifth element. This is ether that hasn't had the human experience yet, and that's where the other four elements come in. It's spirit that's just incarnating. We could see him walking off this cliff as jumping into the human experience. There are other cards that evoke ether, But this ether spirit is before it's become human, before it's faced the human journey. And so, again, like I said before, evoking the hope and excitement, but not really knowing what he's getting himself into. And it takes a pure fool to incarnate, doesn't it? Because we have to come in, forget everything. Some people retain a little memory and then they lose it after the first couple years of life because we get embedded in the matrix. It's really hard to retain your memory of everything throughout incarnation. And there's a reason for it because it's like our spirit wants us not to remember so that we can have a journey, so that we can the journey is one of remembering, actually. So if we come in fully remembered, we're typically fully enlightened guru, and there's very few people that do that. Um, we forget where we come from, the womb of the great mother, and the journey is a journey back to her. And that's why the world card shows a woman, which was on a previous slide, but I'm not going to go back. Um, they say that the whole world was created because God, Goddess, all that is, wanted to experience him, her, itself. So he, she split themselves to create many aspects to experience the self. So we can also see the fool as God, Goddess, all that is before the split. Pure spirit, but unaware of itself. Until the split, until the fall into form, into the mundane. And then the whole journey is to remember the sacred that lies concealed in the mundane. And this is the journey of the tarot. So the Fool is actually really important in the age of Aquarius, which we're definitely in, and I have a whole masterclass on it. It's called Anchoring the Age of Aquarius. The Fool is Uranus. Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. Saturn's the ancient ruler. Uranus is the modern ruler. Pluto is now in Aquarius for good. We're about to have Uranus be in Gemini for good, and then he's going to trine Pluto in Aquarius, and then Neptune gets involved, and that's the profound astrology this July. So the Fool is hugely important right now, and I've just introed it for you. So this is an image. It's called Patient Sleeping in the Temple of Asclepius at Ephiodorus by Ernest Board. So I recommend tonight, and especially tonight, actually, if you're watching it today, but we're now in this eclipse. This Aquarius eclipse new moon has initiated a new lunar year of the fire horse. It's also lunar Imbolc. Um, and it's the beginning of the Aquarius Leo eclipses. It's like a very big deal, this eclipse. And it's really big for the United States of America. And I have that in the Lunar Insight. And I will try to remember to put it below. I think I did. There's a few things that I don't have anything to write it down on, so I'll just have to remember. And if you're watching this and you're like, "Ooh, she forgot that," and you can't find it, just comment on the video and I'll remember and add it. But tonight and this week, take the Fool into your dream space. You could even, if you have these cards, you can put the card by your bed. You could print the card up and put it under your pillow. Before you go to bed, connect with the Fool archetypal energy and say, please guide me. Please bring a dream in that's going to be a message from the Fool. And you could play with different intentions, perhaps ask the Fool to show you where you're being called to take a risk or take a leap, where you're being asked to start over, where you're being asked to end something so something new can begin, where you're being asked to trust and have faith even when things make no sense or are scary, where you're being asked to come back to innocence and purity, that full perspective, or any other message that he or she or they want to deliver. Fool can show up in many ways. Doesn't have to just be the traditional fool. This card. It could be a she or a he or an animal or an energy or a star or whatever. It all comes in the way you're meant to see it and receive it. Um, Also, if you know your astrology, wherever Uranus is, you have the Fool energy being asked to be connected to and channeled in your chart. And if you have any Aquarius planets or Aquarius angles, like rising, midheaven, descendant, IC, nodes, all of it, the Fool is the disposing card. So that this is one of the things we'll be working with the chart. If you don't know what any of that means, don't worry. In the class, we'll get into it more. I'm just giving this teaching for people who actually know their astrology and they can apply it. This is a fresco, actually in Vatican City. It's by Raphael Sanzio, The School of Athens. And the focus here is on Hypatia. She is a female philosopher who was so wise. And there's actually a movie. I think it's called Hypatia, but maybe it's not. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actress that's in it. I see her face. She's so beautiful. She's actually one of my favorite actresses. She's in The Fountain as well. Her name is not coming to me right now, but anyhow, the whole fresco is really huge, so I didn't put it in here because it would have been hard to see the detail of her. She looks, like the Mona Lisa. She looks like the Virgin Mary and Mary Magdalene hidden in plain sight, which she is connected to. The painting also shows other philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, Ptolemy, Heraclitus, Socrates, Pythagoras. They're all in there. Um, and this image just kind of captured me. So I wanted to post it here. So come learn why studying the tarot deeply was one of the prerequisites of higher initiation in mystery schools, and then learn about how my course will support your pilgrimage from self, small self to higher self, profane to sacred, human to divine. In the Golden Dawn, actually, there were three orders, and the first order taught you about the four elements, astrology, tarot, and geomancy. And it was tarot and astrology essentially were prerequisites before you could be initiated into the higher orders. So, study of astrology and tarot is a precursor to initiation in your own journey. It opens the field. This isn't about external organizations and getting some initiation and some certificate. This is about a journey that your soul takes, that these two things are gateways for astrology and tarot. And both will be part of this course. So, the course starts February 28th. Classroom opens February 21st, so you can kind of read a few things, get ready, and go into the community, say hi, start connecting. There are different payment options. There's pay in full. There's payment options of 2, 3, 6, and 10 months. If you're a founding member on my Substack, there's a founder member discount. That is for people who are paid members for my new reactivated membership. And founding members have a discount. It was one of the benefits of being a founding member. And I took the founding member option down because it was only up for a little while as I was getting things going. Um, but I also have been having email issues with Kajabi, which is part of why I've actually even transitioned to Substack. If you never got that email and you're interested in a founding member thing, email me. You should have my email already if you've been a longtime student or client. If not, just go to my website, divineharmony.com, and send me an email through the contact form. Now, I'm just going to share a few testimonials, which I wasn't even going to do when I put this thing together. And then I was looking for some image on my computer, and then all of a sudden, all these testimonials popped up, and I was like, oh, that might be a good thing to put in here. It's very funny how, anyhow. So, this is one of my favorite testimonials that somebody's written for me. Sophia, appropriately named, your teachings have dripped the feminine mysteries into my life like honey. I love that imagery. Everything I do is in devotion to the Divine Mother, and this tarot course will be my next offering in service to her. This is actually from my website, my classes page. So thank you for being consistent, integral, true, inspired voice in the astrology community and pure emissary of the stars. Chris is my star brother who is in the astrology world. You are a wonder to behold, a stream of knowledge and wisdom, a draught of the Grail of inspiration. My star brother Franklin, this one made me cry when he wrote this to me. The Grail mysteries are also what I eternally serve. So, anyhow. And then Hannah, I feel the mother's blessing through all you share and shine. Thank you, Hannah, my star sister. And then I think there's just two more. This is Beverly. I want to express my deep gratitude for you and the work we've done over the course of our time together in Stargate Mystery School. Thank you for bringing your insights, studies, understanding, intuition, downright amazing connection to the stars to us in this way. It has truly been a gift. My deep gratitude to you and for you for the space you hold and carry and your devotion to the divine. So these next two are specifically Stargate Mystery School testimonials, just so you can sort of get the sense of what a longer journey together evokes. And that's what these testimonials do. Thank you, Beverly. And then Peggy, I just wanted to quickly tell you what a profound journey this has been. Over the course of the year, I've had profound feelings, understanding, knowings, healings. As a veteran light worker with decades of conscious work, the information and energy you bring is taking me to such a deeper perspective. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Peggy. So also I'm on Substack now. It's called Bringing Heaven Down to Earth, which is the tagline on my website. I've shifted my newsletters here and my membership content. So there's a free sign up where you get all my free content, but there's also membership where you pay and you get access to things like the weekly forecast, the monthly forecast, my new Sacred Pilgrimage series, which I'm very excited about. And the first of that series was posted publicly, so you can actually listen to it or read it, whichever you want. Um, but going forward, it's just going to be listening because I realize like most people are listening to it, so it doesn't really matter. It's a podcast and it's about my journey last year. And I'm really excited about it. And then I do horoscopes, but not the way that I used to, like weekly, monthly. I'm doing them based on inspiration and certain astrological things where I feel inspired to do them. So I have Age of Aquarius horoscopes up right now that talk about where Aquarius is in your chart and what you're being called to offer the world as we are in this new age and we're in the anchoring and embodying of it. And I go way more deeply into that in the Anchoring the Age of Aquarius webinar. I'll try to remember to put those below because I don't know if I included those, but they are on my website. If you just go to Divine Harmony and click on courses, it shows. I think it says work with me and then courses, if I'm remembering correctly. So this is just The Mother of the World by Nicholas Roerich, one of my favorite images of the Divine Mother. And you can see all the stars are around her. There's so much symbolism actually in this piece of art, which I've spoken to before and I did in the live stream, but I'm just going to let you look at the image and read it yourself and absorb the energy. So thank you. The rise of the feminine within us all will heal our world. And this is why I teach what I teach. And I hope you'll join me for this class. Ending with Female Saints by Hours of Louis de Laval in France, 1480. It's called The Hours of Louis de Laval. And Louis de Laval is the one who painted it. And it's like this beautiful golden divine feminine serpent of awakened female saints. This is what the tarot hides, and I will be teaching it. So I hope you come join me. Thank you so much, and many blessings.